From the PEP Radio Newsroom, these are the stories we are following at this hour. Social Security has existed for 90 years, and this is why it may be more threatened than ever. When President Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed the Social Security Act into law 90 years ago, he said it would provide economic stability to older people while giving the U.S. an economic structure of vastly greater soundness. Today, the program provides benefits to almost 69 million Americans each month. It's a major source of income for people older than 65 and is popular across the country and across political lines. But just as it has for decades, Social Security faces looming shortfalls in money to pay full benefits. And since Trump took office, it has faced more tumult. Agency staffing has been slashed. Unions and advocacy groups concerned about sharing sensitive information have sued. The administration officials, including the president, have falsely claimed that millions of dead people were receiving benefits, and former advisor Elon Musk called it a potential Ponzi scheme. And in Washington, D.C., the police takeover by federal agents in the National Guard have taken on new tasks. They typically investigate drug lords, weapons traffickers, or cyber criminals. But this week, they fanned out across the Capitol as part of Trump's effort to clamp down on crime. The sometimes masked federal agents joined the National Guard as well as the United States Park Police, whose responsibilities include protecting monuments and managing crowds during demonstrations and sort of wandering around the Lincoln Memorial. Soldiers in fatigues have kept watch near Union Station while Drug Enforcement Administration agents patrolled the National Mall. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives officers helped question a couple in Northwest Washington who were parked illegally and eating McDonald's takeout. Oh, heaven forbid. Maybe if they'd gotten Wendy's or Chick-fil-A, they wouldn't have been questioned. Woo! Trump said he was taking over Washington's police in hopes of reducing crime, but all they've done so far is write some traffic tickets and a couple of parking tickets. Even as city officials stress that crime is already falling, and the city's status as a federal district allows the president to take control, though he is limited to 30 days unless he gets congressional approval. The Education Department's disappointed, oh boo friggity who, by ruling on diversity programs at schools and colleges. In her ruling Thursday, U.S. District Judge Stephanie Gallagher in Maryland struck down administration guidance aimed at eliminating diversity programs at schools and colleges. She said the Education Department, in particular Linda McMahon, violated the law when it threatened to cut federal funding from educational institutions that continue with such initiatives. The department reacted later in a statement saying it was disappointed by the decision, but judicial action in joining or setting aside this guidance has not stopped our ability to enforce Title VI protections for students at an unprecedented level. This coming from a woman that kept calling it A1, not AI. Goddamn woman thinks it's steak sauce that kids are learning about. The case centers on two department memos ordering schools and universities to end all race-based decision-making or face penalties up to a total loss of federal funding. It's part of a campaign to end practices that the Trump administration frames as discrimination against white and Asian American students. Yeah, right. And finally, Pennsylvania's prolonged budget impasse is forcing counties to use their reserves to fund social services, impacting nonprofits and potentially increasing costs for taxpayers. Steve Barndt, executive director of Lemoyne Annex at JFT Recovery and Veteran Support Services, said their facility continues to see high demand for behavioral health and addiction services funded by Cumberland and Dauphin counties. Just alone with the contracts, that's more than 100 to 125 people per month, Barndt said. Barndt expressed concern that prolonged budget impasse could negatively, if affect, the nonprofit. When the people show up and maybe they can't get into our facility or another one, it cuts deep, he said. A lengthy budget impasse means counties must rely on their reserves to cover social services costs. And if reserves are insufficient, it could become costly for governments and taxpayers. So maybe the Senate should actually, pass the budget. Kyle Kopko, executive director of the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania, highlighted the financial risks involved. If they do resort to a line of credit, they're going to incur fees and have to pay interest. And will the state budget make them whole as a result? That's a big unknown, Kopko said. Well, ask your state senator. As the state legislature works on the budget, county commissioners are considering deferring expenses or exploring other financial management options. Cumberland County Commissioner Gary Eichelberger noted the anxiety caused by the political brinksmanship. There's a lot of anxiety because of the brinksmanship caused by the red-hot rhetoric of what's going to happen, and I think both parties need to focus on how we're going to bridge these differences. No, the Republicans in the Senate need to get back to work. They got to stop fooling around and they got to get back to work. That's simple. Not an easy task. We recognize that. No, it is a simple task. They need to do their goddamn jobs. Eichelberger said that stuff, and I said the rest. Eichelberger mentioned that Cumberland County is financially stable for at least a few months, while York County's top commissioner stated they can manage for a year and a half. You know what? That's the news at this hour. Today is the last day of Crawford Gives Day 2025. We have until 11:59 p.m. to raise the money we need to continue doing the advocacy work that we do. And if you can contribute, please visit crawfordgives.org and select Pennsylvania Equality Project as your donation choice. Up next, we have the Meadville area weather forecast here on PEP Radio.